In a cold, faraway world.
Hi, this is Stan Bush, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network. Fighting the war for Cybertron, till all are one.
Today on MWIREWeekly, we'll be discussing the new TMNT trailer, the next 80s property to receive a reboot, the beginning of the end for the Fantastic Four, and we'll give you our picks for the best films so far from 2014 and what we are looking forward to most in the second half of the year. All that and more coming up on MWIREWeekly. All right, thanks for sticking with us, and as we do every week, we will begin this week's episode of MWIREWeekly by looking at the box office from this past weekend, and there was a pretty clear-cut first-place movie at the box office this past weekend, and that would, of course, be Transformers Age of Extinction, making just over $100 million, which takes it just about halfway to its budget in the first weekend alone. Rounding up the top five was 22 Jump Street, just under $16 million. How to Train Your Dragon 2, just over $13. Think Like a Man 2, just over $10. And Maleficent staying at the fifth spot, just like it was last week, with just over $8 million. Thoughts on anything at the box office? Transformers being number one, or any of that other stuff, Nate or Matt?
It's not stupid. Yeah, that. It's not surprising, but did it really have to get more money than anything else this year in its first weekend?
You know what's more stupid? Is that it made $100 million. Sure, whatever. It made $100 million. It cost $200 million to make?
Yeah.
That's not crazy. Like, that's what, like, Cap cost.
It took more money to make that than any other movie that's currently in the theater, I believe. Because the closest would be X-Men at $200 million, and Transformers cost $210. Yeah, Michael Bay doesn't make things cheaply.
That's the thing that's ridiculous, though, if you think about it. It's like, it only cost them $10 million more. Did you see how many more CG was in the Transformers? Like, the trailer has more CG than all of the X-Men movie.
And what that budget is not is paying actors and actresses, because outside of Mark Wahlberg and a couple people, was Kelsey Grammer in this?
He was in the other one.
And Stanley Tucci and a couple other people. I mean, it's not like it's a huge cast or anything. It's a pretty limited cast. Just a lot of effects and a lot of CG. And if you haven't seen it yet, my suggestion would be to avoid going to the late showing.
Oh, I thought you were going to say avoid going to see it.
Well, I would do that probably as well.
Why would you avoid the late showing?
Well, see, my friend Joel wanted to go see this movie with me very badly, and he was going to be upset if I went and saw it without him, like I do with a lot of other movies. So we were trying to figure out a time, and we didn't really have a time that was coming up that was going to jive. And then I was like, well, this was last Thursday. I was like, well, it's actually opening up on Thursday. So there's showing it like 6 different times. There was like a 10:30 and 11:30 and midnight, like multiple showings at both theaters near us. So we're like, he's like, well, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, 11:30. That's like not even a midnight show. It's like even earlier than normal, like midnight showing. So that'll be fine. So like we went there, paid for our tickets, went in, sat down. We were just chilling for a minute while the trailers were going, and Joel turns to me and he's like, how long is this movie? I'm like, you know what? I honestly don't even know. So I like pulled out my phone, brought up Fandango or whatever, and like just about spit out everything that I had just drank from my pop when I figured out that the movie was 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
Jeez.
Because then I did the math and realized that I was going to be at the movie theater once the previews were done and the movie actually started until about 2:30 in the morning. When I had to work at like 8 o'clock the next morning. So I definitely got 3 hours of sleep that night. I don't know why it's 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
Did it need to be that long?
No, and I haven't read anybody online that gives me a valid reason for it being that long. we'll get more into that later a little bit when we talk about my feelings about the movie in the main attraction part. But not surprised, because every one of the Transformers films that have come out have done amazing at the box office. That's why they keep doing it. That's why Michael Bay thinks he's doing something good, because he's making a crap ton of money. So whatever, I guess. Maleficent just went over the 200 million mark, milestone for that film. And Spider-Man finally went over the 200 million mark as well. I said it was going to happen, and it happened.
Yay.
So that's good. Yeah, not a bunch of other milestones. Fault in Our Stars, for a kind of like a younger crowd romance type drama, has made over 100 million now too, which is kind of interesting. And How to Train Your Dragon 2, Nate, staying at the 3rd spot for 2 weeks in a row, so that's not bad.
Neato.
It's not quite at its budget yet domestically, but that's not going to be a problem. So it's sitting at 121 million. Not a bunch of big drops or rises outside of maybe, I think, Like a Man 2 dropped 65% from the 1st spot last week down to the 4th spot this week, which is kind of weird since there was no other new films. Like, it was obvious that Transformers was going to take the 1 spot, but I think Like a Man went from 1 to 4, and the 2 and the 3 stayed the same. But no real huge shockers there. Anything else box office-wise that you guys wanted to bring up?
Just that Captain America's number 1 now.
Yeah, going over if you're looking at the total year, Captain America, The Winter Soldier is 200, well, not quite 200,000 ahead of the Lego Movie. So we have a new number 1, Captain America, then the Lego Movie, then X-Men, then Maleficent, then Spider-Man.
I'm glad Godzilla's out of the top 5, because screw that movie.
Godzilla will no longer be mentioned in the top 5. So Transformers already 13th for the year.
Wow.
Right behind How to Train Your Dragon 2 and Rio 2. So those 2 movies, it looks like Lego Movie so far, as far as animated films, is going to reign supreme for the year, unless something comes out of nowhere. I guess maybe the Big Hero 6, is that what it's called?
Yep.
Maybe it has a chance. I don't know. But we'll have to see. So, yeah, Captain America, the new number 1. Getting into some of the headlines today, there's not a lot of new stuff, but a few items here. First, on the Fantastic Four, as I mentioned, possibly the beginning of the end for the Fantastic Four in my book. Not that I was excited about anything about this film up to this point, but there is a news article here saying that the film might be using the good old found footage technique.
That's what got the guy famous.
Yeah, that is what got the guy famous. That's, Josh Trank, the director, when he did Chronicle and stuff like that. But can you see this working in this property, Nate or Matt?
I have an opinion, Nate. You go.
I don't have an opinion on this. It's like...
Yeah, there is one place where it works, then. There's only one place where it works. And that's if fucking Johnny Storm, who is not the same color as Susan Storm for some reason, if he's, like, recording and he's like, we're stealing this spaceships, and then it has that, and he's like, it's following them, and you get very little of him, and then the whole, thing happens, they come down to Earth, and then it shows them getting their powers, and then it immediately stops doing that for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could see it working.
I don't like found footage things.
I don't either, but, that's the way it would work.
Like, found footage is so, is dumb in movies when, a movie is obviously a fake thing. And it's like, oh, we found this footage and we put it together and it's supposed to... It worked with the Blair Witch Project, and then everyone realized that was also fake, and then it stopped being a thing.
It's a type of technique that seems like it can only be done once and actually have the effect that you are wanting it to have.
It's like you have to go into a movie and not know anything about it, and then go like, oh, did this actually happen? But That's never going to happen, especially with people on the internet that look up movies way too often.
Yeah, I just don't see this being a good sign for the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
That as a franchise, it needs a lot of help to get people's interest in it, I think, compared to some of the other superhero franchises. Like, for some reason with that franchise, it just seems like it takes more to get people interested, and I don't think that is going to help.
Also, it kind of shows how limited that Trank guy is if that's all he does.
Right, if you can't adapt to a different type of film or whatever.
Maybe they'll get him for Paranormal 4, 5 or something.
There we go. All right, next up on our headlines, Chicago has been selected as the location for a George Lucas-backed Star Wars museum.
Nice.
It beat out San Francisco and Los Angeles. Lucas's wife is from Chicago, and it'll be a 17-acre lakefront plot that's going to exhibit Lucas's collection of film memorabilia and artwork, including a full-scale model of the Millennium Falcon.
All right.
Spending $700 million of his own money to build the museum. It's good when you have $700 million of your own money that you can just use to build your own personal museum.
It's a museum to him.
And it's going to create hundreds of local jobs.
Oh, that's good.
It's gonna,
Dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of different stuff though. It says, I mean, it'll have like Norman Rockwell paintings, some Industrial Light and Magic stuff, Darth Vader costumes, or the costume. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see what it has. I'm super happy that it's going to be so close because that will allow me to go there.
Hell yeah, man.
Very easily, and we should all make a trip there.
No, I'm going to be doing that probably yearly.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It says.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine the May the 4th?
Oh,
right.
Geez, I will not be going that day.
It's expected to open sometime in 2018, so we have a little bit of time to wait for it.
All right.
I just think that's cool. The whole idea of a Star Wars museum is like, oh, why doesn't that exist already? So I'm all about it, as most geeks around the world should be. As far as sequels and remakes, a couple things here, starting off with Pacific Rim 2. Del Toro will be returning for that, so he'll be the man in charge, and it is set to be released in 2017. I think most people would be happy or excited to know that we'll get to see a little bit more of Pacific Rim, since it seemed like it got a pretty favorable review and whatnot from the geek and nerd and pop culture focused people. Like, everybody seemed to like that movie. I didn't hear a whole lot of negative stuff. You guys both saw it. You guys both liked it. What do you think about the second one coming out?
It's going to be good.
Yep, I'm excited for it.
I watched a YouTube video where Del Toro said something like it's going to be like following the same storylines that the comics were following. I haven't read those. He's like, we're going to pick up where the comics left off and go from there.
Okay.
And it was him specific. It was just him in front of the camera talking. So I mean, you can't. It's like that's not even rumor at that point.
Yeah.
So there's that. If you're excited about those.
I heard also something about an animated show.
Yeah, that's. I think they plan to do that right after.
That's cool.
But we'll see what happens, because, I mean, they specifically said that was the point of Van Helsing, was to launch the animated Van Helsing TV show, and then that got an episode.
Right.
Yeah, there's always plans for TV shows and cartoons and whatnot, but it's just much harder to do that, it seems like, than to do a movie.
It also doesn't help if you kill off all of your antagonists in the pilot, in the movie.
That's true. Although that's what Transformers 3 did, and... Anyway.
Oh, no, you're spoiling it for us.
Oh, no.
Transformers 3.
No.
No, this is Transformers 4 that just came out.
No, I know. I haven't seen
Neither
3
of us
either.
have seen it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, I'm not spoiling anything, trust me. As far as news about...
isn't thick enough.
Yeah, news about Star Trek for Star Trek fans, and maybe good news for those people that maybe weren't as huge on the last two films, even though I don't see some of the issues that many of them saw. But it looks like it's going to have a little bit of a different feel here. Star Trek 3 is going to be more set in deep space, more close to bringing those characters to what people were used to in the original series. Coming from Roberto Orci, that the last two films were more so like origin films, kind of getting the story together as far as how they came together, everybody's background, but that this third film will be closer to the original series where you actually have the crew off in space doing some type of deep space adventure. Matt, I know you're a big Star Trek fan. What do you think as far as that direction for how that franchise goes?
I thought that the second one was a step in that direction. I mean, the opening scene alone is way more like the original series than the entire first movie was. And so I am both hopeful that I think that they can do it, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, that was the Space, the Final Frontier. It's a 5-year mission. Okay, let's get on that.
Right. It's time for the 5-year mission to begin. I don't know if I've ever asked you, but what was your opinion on the last Star Trek film, Matt?
You did ask me a couple of episodes ago, but I'm more than willing to repeat myself because I love my voice.
Shut up, man.
I love it. It was great. There are some things that I have a problem. I have problems with every movie. I don't think there's very few movies that I can say are perfect. But it was very enjoyable. I saw it in theaters at least once, and I would watch it anytime anyone wanted to.
You didn't have as much of a problem as a lot of quote-unquote Trekkies had with... A lot of people kind of yelled about it not being unique enough, not being original enough, and copying too much on the old stuff, which I didn't have that problem watching it.
I did not feel like... if anything, I would say there were too many homages. Because I don't think they were ever, copying anything. I was hey, this is something that happened, but it's happening differently in our universe, which is something you have to address if you have a reboot that's like an alternate universe rather than just a straight reboot. I think if it was a straight reboot, I would be upset, but since they're these are all of the same guys, slightly different circumstances that brought them to the same moment, then it makes sense.
Yeah, and I was with you. I didn't have the problem that a lot of people did either. But I liked the idea that they finally get on their 5-year mission, they go off there and have a more classic Star Trek type story or plot going in there. Nate, I know you're not huge on Star Trek. Have you any interest in this third one?
Not really. No.
Okay.
Wow, I did not know.
I mean, it's. Whatever. It'll come out, and I'll probably end up seeing it because Megan really likes Star Trek. So
that's also weird to me. I don't know. I guess she's liked them all, all the way back to the earlier stuff, except for probably not the originals.
Yeah, actually, I think she's definitely more of a Next Generation.
She's mostly Voyager.
Yep. Janeway.
Speaking of what I teased in the opening about some 80s reboots, we got 2 of them coming up here. First off being the Predator franchise, and that the next chapter in that franchise will not be a reboot, but instead will be a sequel. So Shane Black saying that it's going to be a sequel to the last film. I am not huge on knowledge about the Predator franchise. Are either of you guys?
I want to say yes, but no. I mean, I know the original movies. I watched the original movies. I didn't know they rebooted it, because you really didn't need to. And I know a lot about the toys.
Gotcha.
But I don't know about this newer stuff.
I mean, I don't know. Some things I get that they don't want to deal with all the stuff that's happened in the other films, so they go the reboot direction and just kind of hit reset and let's start all over. The sequels always make it more interesting, though, to see how they're going to connect or how they're going to miss things or do things right in regards to the continuity that already exists. But I just wasn't huge on the Predator films when I was growing up, so I can't really speak too much to it. Nate, did you ever watch all the Predator films?
No, I probably wasn't allowed to.
That's true.
My favorite thing about the Predator films is actually a joke from The Daily Show, when Arnold Schwarzenegger became the governor, because Jesse Ventura, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger,
the body.
both of which were guys in that movie that then got political roles. So they made a joke about how the next person from that movie to get a political role was going to be the Predator, and he's going to be Senator Predator. And I really enjoyed that joke. And, you know, they had a Photoshop of the Predator in a suit and everything. It was great.
I'd watch that movie.
Nice. And the other 80s franchise that was, at least a franchise that was big in the 80s, would be Rambo. And the rumor is that Sylvester Stallone will be returning for Rambo 5. And that the plot will do something about Rambo battling a Mexican cartel.
Didn't the article say something like it was going to feel more like a different movie?
Yes. Stallone has written a script likening it to No Country for Old Men in terms of tone.
That sounds awesome.
That sounds impossible.
Have you seen No Country for Old Men, Matt?
I have not seen Old Country for No Men.
All right, we need to watch that one.
It's nothing like Sylvester Stallone or Rambo has ever been.
Yeah.
All I know is that if he's fighting the drug cartel, can we get it to be Danny Trejo to be the villain?
Oh, I would watch it.
I just want to know what the obsession is lately with all the films wanting to now go against Mexico or Mexican gangs or Mexican cartels.
All the films.
All of them.
All of them. All of them. No, but there's been trends in, if you trace film history, like during the Cold War, every film, every video game went against Russians or Soviets or communist countries.
Oh, in the new Call of Duty, you fight the South America.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. It seems like we went from all of the communist blocks, and then we had a time where it was all Middle Eastern things that were the bad guys and everything, games, movies, and it seems like there's been like somewhat of a shift where they're throwing a lot more South America, Central America, Mexican villain plots or drug cartels or this, that, and the other, and I don't.
That is weird.
I hadn't noticed this trend, but I've talked about the other idea you're talking about, where it was Nazis and communists and then terrorists and like. And I wish we had I don't want to be like we should have another World War II, but I wish we had a new form of the Nazis where it was like
alien.
We can hate this thing and it's okay, and we could just abuse it in media, because like that worked so well back when we had very clear-cut enemies.
We need to have an alien invasion. Because
I actually got to go ahead.
Well, because definitely, if aliens came around here, we would shoot them first and ask questions later, and then they don't speak our language, so we wouldn't even feel bad for killing them. So they'd be like Nazis, even though they didn't do anything bad.
Pretty much.
I subscribe to what Stephen Hawking said about aliens, which is that if aliens showed up on Earth, it'd be a lot like the time we showed up at America when it was just, the natives, where it's like, hey, we've got all this technology, we can do things you can't do, and we're taking this.
But we're going to make you think that we're not. See, that's the mistake. Like all the films that depict aliens, it's like they come in and it's very blatant that there's some type of thing. I think it'd be more like what you're saying, where it's like they'd come in and act like everything's cool and like we're going to do some deals and come to some agreements, and then all of a sudden Americans, or not just Americans, but humans would be like, whoa, we just got like squeezed out of everything. What just happened?
Got hosed.
But I actually did a very interesting, I had a project in college where I had to do a whole, I don't know if you want to call it a term paper, but on the whole idea of the communist / whatever effect that it had on pop culture and in the media, and I got to research and look at for like a lot of movies and TV shows and video games and everything that kind of depicted that, and it was kind of interesting to see how much that just naturally, whether it's meant to or not, whether it's intentional or not, how much it just like seeps into all parts of your society when something like that's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's all about like the whole border issue that's been going on lately, where people are gravitating to that as just I don't know, but I'm interested to see if it continues or what the new trend is. But Rambo 5, I guess I would have had to have liked all the other Rambos to be interested in Rambo 5. but I'm just not a big Sylvester Stallone fan, so I haven't seen all the Rockies and I haven't seen all the Rambos.
Does
that make me not
a really good segue there?
Does that make me not American? What was the segue?
The fact that you were just like, yada yada, aliens, yada yada, Nazis, and Rambo 5.
Oh, man.
Yes. Also, as far as casting goes, we got a couple different things casting-wise. The Coen brothers that we had talked about a few episodes ago, that they were producing a film called Hail Caesar. And some of the cast members that will be involved in that have been kind of making their ways into the rumor mills. Josh Brolin was going to be a starring role in the project, but we also got that Channing Tatum, Tilda Swinton, and Ralph Fiennes will all be in that film as well. So that'll be interesting. I don't know exactly what the story is going to completely consist of, but it's something to do with Hollywood in the 50s and someone who was a quote-unquote fixer. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts, where's my Caesar movie about Caesar?
You need to stop taking titles so literally.
Dude, I'm done. I'm done with these movies that are all like the next movie is going to be all like, the Muppet Babies return, and it's going to have no Muppets or no babies, and it's going to be like, wow, why are we just, it's almost as bad as the Transformers.
Right.
Yeah, but it is the Coen brothers, so they like to do that. They like to do stuff that makes not a lot of people understand it right away. I don't know. I'm always interested to see what they do. I don't like all of their stuff, but every once in a while they strike gold. So, Nate, you like the Coen brothers, don't you? A little bit.
I do. Thanks for asking.
No problem.
I don't know. I have nothing other than I like them.
That's sometimes all you need. We also talked about Ridley Scott's next film being a film called The Martian, a new sci-fi film coming out soon, and it's been said now that Matt Damon will be starring in that film. So Matt Damon and Ridley Scott pairing up together. So I don't have much to say about it because I really don't know much about it, except for that it's going to have to do with Mars landing and Martians.
That's Holy cool. Shit. It has to do with Mars and Martians?
See? It just... It's throwing it back at you right after you said that. I know a lot of people thought that Ridley Scott was going to just be doing the next Prometheus, but he is doing this one in there in between. So, or unless somebody different is going to direct Prometheus 2 or whatever it's going to be called. But I'm down for Matt Damon doing some science fiction stuff because I usually like him in those types of roles. So yeah, that's fine. More people being rumored to be Doctor Strange. This time it's Edgar Ramirez, who I don't really know much about.
Yep.
But that's interesting, I guess.
Kevin, take this seriously.
You're trying to do a show here?
No, but like literally, like there's like big parts, and like Batman, for example, or back when the Joker came in the Dark Knight or whatever. There's like certain parts that like there's casting rumors, but it seems like it's like one or two people, and then we get it. Like I don't know if I've ever seen more names thrown out about a role than I've seen so far about Doctor Strange.
Which is funny because like we don't even know when this movie's coming out.
Right, but they've literally like had rumors about like 6 or 7 or 8 people so far about playing this role. Like,
well, it's a very important role. It will change.
It is important to get it.
The landscape of comic book movies.
It's really not. You know what? The only thing you need to know about Edgar Ramirez, because I just IMDb'd him. He's gonna be in the Point Break remake.
Nice.
Okay, something that I know Nathan will appreciate.
What?
Nathan Fillion.
Doing what?
That should be all I have to say.
Okay, good.
Set for a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Whoa, he's going to be in it for a bit?
That's the rumors.
That was sarcasm, right?
A little bit.
Okay.
He had initially been linked to the... Am I reading this right?
The role of Nova?
Yeah, Nova Prime, but it says the Meteor part. Oh, I guess.
Meteor.
More than cameo. Gotcha.
That's the thing.
But yeah, he did confirm that it's a very small, fun cameo.
Is he going to be playing him like his character from Firefly? Because that would be hilarious.
I mean, it could be just him voicing somebody. I don't know.
That's true.
The Firefly Serenity comics were published by Dark Horse, so I don't know if Marvel's allowed to.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know.
People love Nathan Fillion, so they will be excited about him appearing in any way, shape, or form.
Although they could put him in an outfit that resembles the one he wore,
totally.
and not say his name, and just be like, have him say like a catchphrase or whatever. I don't know. I didn't watch Firefly enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That was my whole life growing up.
What?
That was my whole high school, telling everyone Firefly is the most amazing show I've ever seen. You need to go and watch this. And then about a decade later, everyone realized that it was the greatest show.
That's it for the casting. We haven't had a lot of delay talk in recent episodes, but this one would be a big one. I don't think it's actually going to happen, but it would be somewhat funny if it did.
I don't know if you'd call this funny, but...
Well, no, not for a different reason. But there was a story, obviously, that we reported about Harrison Ford breaking his leg or his ankle or his foot or whatever he broke on set, dealing with the Millennium Falcon, apparently not nimble as he was back in the day. But there was a story that came out this past week about it possibly causing Star Wars Episode 7 to be delayed from its initial December 2015 release date. The only reason that would be hilarious is because when they initially came to a decision on their release date as late 2015, there was a domino effect of about 6 or 7 different movies evacuating that time period.
The whole month.
Yeah, they just were avoiding any, within 60 days of that happening, it's that's not a good time to bring a movie out, especially right after it. Maybe not as much, only the week or two before it, but you don't want to come out the second, third, fourth week after this film comes out. So a lot of movies changed places. So if it all of a sudden delayed and switched to a different date, it would just be funny to watch all the studios do what they're going to do as they try to strategize when they don't want to come out. It's pretty much got to be one of the biggest swing, the franchise that has the biggest swing as far as when it comes to theatrical releases. There's not many that scare people more than Star Wars.
It's terrifying.
People don't want to compete against that. I don't think you would want to compete against the next Avengers or something like that as well. But Star Wars is just a different animal. So I just find that to be funny if they would delay it. But I don't know if they necessarily need to delay it. I'm sure there was all kinds of other stuff that they could do without needing Harrison Ford unless he's playing a huge part. But I don't know.
Well, the rumors always said that he was likely going to play a big part. But
yeah. So maybe some of those rumors are true. I don't know. So that is it for the actual news stuff. Into the trailer talk a little bit. There was a few trailers released in this last week. The Last of Robin Hood, which Matt probably wouldn't like because it's not necessarily a lot to do with Robin Hood.
That was the first.
Errol Flynn.
That was the first one I opened. I was like, Robin Hood, yes.
Errol Flynn did play Robin Hood.
That's what Nate said. I don't know who that guy is, but I don't care.
Fury, the war film starring Brad Pitt there. The Prince, Affluenza, The Purge Anarchy, The Guest, Child of God, Life After Beth, Into the Storm, Dracula Untold, The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, Spare Parts, and another new trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Before we talk about Turtles, any of the other trailers that you guys watched, Nate, that caught your interest in a good or bad way?
Probably the Dracula one.
Yeah.
That one is it might be cool. I'm hoping it'll be really good, but it looks like it will be average to good. I don't know. The best part of the trailer is when he punches the ground with bats.
I just think. No, go ahead.
I think I'm on the exact opposite side of Nate, where it's like, yes, this is what I want from a Dracula movie, and I don't know about these bats punching things. That's kind of weird.
Really? Oh, that looks so cool.
I think it's a really cool visual. I just don't know if that's what I want in my Dracula movie.
All right.
But I don't know, man. I'm excited. I'm a lot excited.
I did like how they had the Nosferatu-looking dude.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know, I didn't really know much about that movie. It was kind of not, there wasn't much about it at the beginning of the year. There wasn't any talk about it or maybe even knowledge about it. But I like the movie posters that have come out for it. I liked the trailer that came out for it. He seems like a guy that fits the role somewhat decent. I like the idea of having somewhat of an origin story for Dracula and how that will play out. So I don't know. I think it looks interesting. I mean, it could be terrible, like a lot of other fantasy films have been lately, slash supernatural slash whatever you want to term this one. But I'm holding out hope that it might be okay.
Cool.
Other trailers, Nate?
This wasn't a very good batch. Like, I don't know.
It's definitely a mixed bag.
I was writing down everything, and this is literally like, it's like meh, gross, might be cool, nope. Like, I'm just writing down the stuff next to them. Like,
the ones. Go ahead.
What was it? Fury. Fury has a really good cast, but it doesn't look like a movie I would be into.
See, I'm the exact opposite. Well, no, I'm not the exact opposite. That doesn't make any sense. That made sense the last time I said it.
Shut up, Matt.
I have a differing opinion on Fury. I think it looks like a lot of fun. Like, I think that other than Dracula, that was the one I was very much interested in.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of buzz. The ones that have had the most buzz on this list would be Fury, and then the disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. The one that's getting the most marketing is Into the Storm, but there has been a lot of movie people that have had some excitement for Fury and the disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, and I'm with Matt. I think Fury looks pretty interesting. Decent cast there, like you said, Nate, and I like that type of genre of film, so it could be something good. Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby caught my eye just because you have Jessica Chastain and James McAvoy, who we just saw in X-Men.
Right.
William Hurt, Bill Hader, Viola Davis. So I mean, it's got a pretty star-studded cast. So I'm sure it'll get some buzz. I don't know how much I'll be into the story, but
I don't know, man. I can't get into it.
What about? I had never really heard much about the whole Life Before Beth.
Yeah, that one looks interesting.
That again has an interesting cast too. That has a lot of up and coming people as well as pretty well established people. So I mean that could get a little buzz. Matt, you didn't like this group of trailers?
Generally no. I mean, like I said, the last Robin Hood not being about Robin Hood, and the Prince didn't even have a prince in it. Eleanor Rigby didn't have any Beatles songs in the trailer even. I was not.
Child of God did not have the Child of God in it.
Oh, dude, I didn't even open that one.
Why not?
Wait, no.
What if Into the Storm didn't have a storm in it?
Dude, that's.
Or Dracula Untold didn't have Dracula.
Well, it doesn't until like the very end of the trailer. One thing that really bothered me, spare parts. You don't like the heartwarming family movies?
Spare Parts, that was probably the trailer amongst the whole group that got the quickest stop from me.
That's what I wrote a note next to.
I wrote it. I watched it knowing exactly how the movie was going to end. Well, okay, it has two different ways it can end. It can either be like, yeah, we won, or hey, cool runnings. Because it's been done a million times.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey,
but
we won, just like every other one, or cool runnings. It's perfect.
Yeah, those are your two options with the coming from behind, especially if it's like minority or underprivileged. But Marissa Tomei's in that, and I only saw her, like, I think she she was either a mom or a girlfriend of a guy, and then George Lopez. I want to call him G-Lo.
Oh, that's why I shut that one off.
You want to call him G-Lo?
G-Lo. He calls himself that, like J-Lo, but it's G-Lo. George Lopez.
Well, that's dumb.
So I like George Lopez a little bit. Sorry. But it's like he's playing their like 60-year-old teacher-looking guy, and then she's playing someone that could probably be one of their girlfriends. But like Marissa Tomei and George Lopez are in the real world like 3 years apart in age, and that was funny to me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, that was a long way to go for something that was dumb.
Oh, man.
That's no problem. I probably will look a little more into The Last of Robin Hood, even if it's not about Robin Hood, just because it is about a real life, Hollywood actor.
Also, Dakota Fanning looks like a lot like Emma Stone in that.
Yeah, she does.
And go to Dakota Fanning getting 3 movies in a year after nothing for a decade, or however long you were gone. She looks like she's
a weird role in Twilight or something.
She's setting herself up to be an actual actress, and I think she might be able to do it. The Errol Flynn movie definitely makes it look like I might be interested, because after those 2 weirdo horror movie trailers we watched, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to see anything. No, it was one weirdo horror movie and then like one weird sex movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not interesting.
What about the new Turtles trailer, which we actually got to hear Megan Fox speak? She will have lines in the movie, unfortunately.
Come on.
I was gonna say, like, is that a plus? I didn't think it was.
I think it would have been absolutely hilarious if she actually would have had no lines in the movie.
It could be like a comic relief thing where every time they cut to her, she'd like about to be like, and then like an explosion happens, and she's like,
She passes out, she faints, there's an explosion, somebody else comes in. Besides that, she actually speaks. The shots that they showed of Shredder, opinions?
I thought it was kind of cool, but I don't know.
See, at first I'm like, oh, that is a really big and flashy looking Shredder that's somewhat maybe flashier than I would expect. And then he pulls out some more stuff. Then he just becomes even flashier and more bladey, sharp.
The movie looks like it's going to be so incredibly mixed. For on one hand, I want to say like, hey, it seems like they have personalities and they're kind of doing the Turtles a little bit right. But then they're like, the designs are so terrible that it's just hard to watch because they're so gross looking. And then also there's so much product placement in the trailer that it just turns me off immediately.
Apparently, through Pizza Hut, you're going to be able to go online and order yourself a Donatello pizza, or a Leonardo pizza, or a Raphael pizza.
What, are they just like really cool pizzas that look terrible?
Nah, I have no idea.
They should look like the Turtles. If they look like the Turtles, you have to bring us one.
My problem is not. I agree somewhat with you, Nate, that the designs of the Turtles are just bizarre for me. I don't.
It's like gross. It's like I don't need it.
Honestly, I'm not saying that this film has to be the same as like the 80s or the 90s films or whatever. Like, not necessary. But you could have done an updated version of that look even, and not been that bad.
Yeah, I still think the TMNT is like really underrated when it comes to the Turtles movies. Like, no one talks about it, but it's really good, and it has like great designs, great characters, and I don't know.
But it's not even the turtle designs that are going to be what ruins this film for me. I don't
Whoopi
know
Goldberg?
if No, Whoopi Goldberg, I'm fine with that.
Oh, I like Whoopi too.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, even though she's playing her character was a male in the original cartoon. But that's something that reboots do. They always switch genders, so that's fine. That's just something they feel like they need to do. But my problem is really going to be with Shredder. I don't think I'm going to get past it.
Well, do you think he's going to be like he's not going to say a line and he's just going to be like, I'm a monster that you have to defeat? Or do you...
No, he's a middle-aged white guy.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Is that the dude that's...
Yeah.
The guy? He's in the suit?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, dang.
Yeah.
Like, I could, even if your suit's crazy and like, super flashy and trying to be modern and...
I don't want to call that modern, I just call that stupid.
Well, I mean modern in the way that it's just like, oh, like, we can do this, so we're going to do it. Like, we get too wrapped up in what we can do and not think about what we should do with the effects and the costume and whatnot. But, like, even all that would be fine, but you can't just change, like, that is the essence of the Turtles, the origin of Splinter and Shredder.
Right.
So that makes... I mean, you could have the actual Turtles come a bunch of different ways and people would be able to accept it.
They're not still... they're still going to be, like, genetic freaks and not aliens, right?
Right. Yeah, they make a joke about aliens somewhere in one of the trailers or teasers or something, so they even made a way to make fun of that. But, yeah, middle-aged white guy cannot be Shredder. I'm sorry.
All right.
Doesn't make sense.
You know what else I have a problem with?
Yes.
It's written by more than one person.
That's always dangerous.
I don't know. I mean, maybe two is okay, but it's
two if they're a team that has done a lot of things
together.
together.
Like the Coen brothers or something.
Yeah,
but like three, do you need that third guy?
Or if it's like, hey, you write the beginning of this film.
right. I'll write the end, and we'll do a beautiful corpse of a movie.
We'll put it all together later. It'll save time and get this movie out faster.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. Matt, any excitement for the Turtles?
No, for all the reasons you mentioned. Like, it's just...
like, I'm excited for it because I want to be a good Turtle movie, but I don't think it's going to be it.
This is the thing, though. This is the weird thing. There was a lot of films done back... Not a lot, I guess, but there was films done back in the day, which was a Wednesday, that were off of cartoons or toys or whatever, that were just terrible.
Yeah.
You know, we know like, you know, Masters of the Universe was pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of that stuff was bad. And it's so easy for them now to make a modern version of it. Like, if they did a modern version of Masters of the Universe, it probably wouldn't be as bad as that. Like, it would probably be an improvement.
Sure.
But this is one of those things where I just feel like it's going to be the opposite, where the original Turtles movie was actually good, and this is going to be terrible. But I hope I'm wrong.
And what's worse is this is just going to make a fortune.
Yep.
Do you think...
got a name on it.
Like, do you think people, like, 20 to 30 years from now are going to watch, like, Transformers and, like, if this one really tanks, if it's really bad, they're going to watch this and be like, no, it has its charm. Look, like, I don't know, because...
Probably.
I'm dumb. I watched too many bad
But I'm hoping by then all the copies of all the Transformers movies will have been destroyed in some type of cataclysmic event. And we'll have to start over in some way, shape, or
The
form.
new president will order all of the... It's weird. I wanted to give the new president a name, and I immediately went to Double Obama.
Double Obama. Oh, man.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with what we've been watching and our look back at the first half of the year and look forward to the second half. So we'll be right back.
A truck? Dad, please tell me you didn't spend our money on
Oh, no,
this.
don't worry, he didn't. He spent my money, $150 of it.
Yeah, as an advance on your regular paycheck.
What regular paycheck?
Which you will get back.
When?
Never. We're broke.
I knew it.
Sweetheart, could you please not drive a wedge between employer and employee?
Hold on, I thought we were partners.
Look, I came up short, okay? I had to buy her a prom dress. You want me to deny her a prom dress?
Might as well. You denied her a prom date.
No, I offered to take her and chaperone.
Nobody wants to go to the dance with their dad. It's weird.
It's not the issue.
Well, maybe it should be.
Sweetheart, your shorts are shrinking by the second, okay? Cold water air dry, please.
All right. Thanks for sticking with us. As we said, we're going to quick talk about some of the stuff we've watched in the last week or so, and then we'll get into our retrospective look back and look ahead. Nate, what movies have you watched in the last week?
I didn't watch any movies.
All right. You guys watched stuff on Friday.
Well, what did we watch on Friday?
We watched 2 movies on Friday in our quest to watch all the fantasy movies ever.
Right.
Which we're actually catching up on because they're not making anymore, I guess.
Yeah, we're like scrambling every week.
Every week to get as many as we can. No, we watched 2 things based on fantasy writings, I guess you could say.
Oh, yeah.
One
Oh, yeah! Okay.
and one terrible.
Right.
So first off, we'll talk about the amazing one. Let's talk about Mazes and Monsters.
No. Shut up, Matt.
No, that was the terrible one.
Right.
So Mazes and Monsters, for those of you not in the know, was a made-for-TV movie starring Tom Hanks about the dangers of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
What year are we talking about?
Early 80s.
A long time ago.
Okay, so Tom Hanks in his earlier days.
Oh yeah, he looks like he's 14.
This was like before even
1982.
Was that before his the one sitcom he was on that he had to like dress cautious every episode? Never mind.
I don't know what that is.
How did you even have knowledge of that? There was no way you were allowed to watch that.
What? Why?
Did you just say he is cross-dressing every episode?
It was a really cheesy sitcom.
Oh, okay.
Nate knows a lot about things from Bosom Buddies.
Yeah!
It was after Bosom Buddies started. I don't know if it was after Bosom Buddies ended. Because Bosom Buddies was 80 to 82.
So that was like at the height of his popularity.
He did Bosom Buddies for 2 years, and then he did like one episode of The Love Boat, one episode of Taxi, one episode of Happy Days. And then he did the hit movie Mazes and Monsters.
And
it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, he
killed someone.
It was that role that landed him in Big, Castaway.
And he's just been failing ever since. Like nothing is compared to the Mazes and the Monsters.
So it was bad?
It was terrible.
Really bad. It was slow and plotting and
nothing
happened.
I got one thing I could say about it that was good, which was, except for one cut, I didn't know it was a TV movie.
Right?
There was one cut where it like did a fade, and I turned immediately to everyone sitting around me. We had been watching for over an hour at this point, and I went, "Was this a made-for-TV movie?" And everyone goes, "I don't know." And then it comes back, and it fades back, and he says the exact same line. I went, "Oh no!"
I hate that. I hate it when like stuff fades out, and then like they redo a line or something, and it's like, oh, the audience obviously has completely forgotten because 2 minutes of commercials is too much.
Americans were stupid in the 80s.
They're stupid now.
Dude, that's ridiculous. Like, if you're watching the movie, then you don't need that, and if you're not watching the movie, then you don't need that because you're not watching it.
Right.
But yeah.
The thing about it, though, is it's supposed to be, like, the dangers of Dungeons & Dragons is based on a book that, like, is probably, I think it's more in-depth of, like the game is making them do this, but all it seemed is, like, this, like, he just had a terrible upbringing, and, like, you know, he didn't have any grip on reality because his life was so crappy.
Yeah, dude, it was like, he had, like, an arguably abusive father and a drunk mom, and, like, he was just like, they're like, "You don't play that Dungeons & Dragons at college." And he's like, "Yeah, Dad, I'll do my studies." And then, like, he does his work, and then he meets the Amazing Monsters group, and he starts playing that, and he still does all of his homework.
Yeah.
And it's like, clearly the game is not the problem here.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not good. That's all I can say.
Fair enough. And the good one was?
Call the Conqueror.
With Kevin Sorbo.
Kevin Sorbo. Based on the character created by Robert E. Howard, the guy who brought us Conan the Barbarian and Solomon Kane and Red Sonja. Call the Conqueror, a barbarian who, through weird circumstances, becomes a king.
Very weird circumstances.
It was that scene was comedic at best.
Oh man, it's just like the king is drunk and he's trying to kill him.
It's like, have you seen Game of Thrones? It was like Game of Thrones shit. Like.
Perfect.
It's like,
exactly.
Hey, the king is going crazy and he's killing all of his sons. Just like that Targaryen dude. But then, like they all show up, and then, like, Kevin Sorbo's like, dude, you need to not kill your sons, and then like get into a sword fight, and then he kills the king. And then, like, everyone's like, I'm next in line. No, I'm next in line. It's like, well, all the sons are dead, so it's me. And then the king's all like, I'm not dead, I'm giving it to Kevin Sorbo. And then he hands him the crown, and then he dies.
Oh, man.
And then that's the system of rule from then on.
And everyone's cool with it.
No. And then the whole movie is everyone plotting to kill Kevin Sorbo for the whole movie.
Pretty much.
It's great. It's
It was
fun.
good.
It's solid. It's 80s and fantasy as hell.
Whoa, 90s.
Well, okay. This one's actually 90s instead of just something that's very 80s that the 90s just claimed. But it feels way more like an 80s movie. It's like watching the old Conan movie. And the fact that it came out 15 years later is just easily ignored because it doesn't look like it. Like, it really does not.
They had some pretty bad CG in it. They wouldn't have done that in the 80s.
So should people watch this one or not?
Totally.
Yeah.
If you like fantasy things, if you like barbarians, if you like people being pushed out a window and set on fire by magic, this is the movie for you.
If you like creepy dragon ladies.
Creepy dragon ladies?
Yeah, at the very end.
Oh. Yeah. It was like creepy demon lady, I thought.
Sure. Yeah.
Matt, did you see any other films this past week?
I'm gonna say no.
Nope.
I saw a few films this last week. Made some trips to the Red Box. I saw Ride Along because it made a lot of money and was supposed to be really funny. And I was getting to somewhat serious films at the same time, so I'm like, this will be good change of pace. And I like Kevin Hart, so that should be a good choice. And it just really wasn't funny.
Aw.
Like, it was funny, but not funny enough. I mean, Kevin Hart was funny, and it was Kevin Hart and Ice Cube.
Not Ice-T?
No, why do so many people struggle with that? Me and myself included. I'm always like, am I saying the right Ice?
I'm just making sure it's not the Law and Order guy.
No, it's the other guy. Ice Cube. So, I mean, it was cool. Him and Kevin Hart, you know, Kevin Hart's trying to be a cop, so he just got accepted to the academy, and Ice Cube is his girlfriend's brother, or fiance's brother, and he doesn't like him, so Kevin Hart goes on a ride along with him to prove that he's got what it takes to be a cop. And madness ensues. Just not funny enough madness. So, I don't know, I guess maybe Kevin Hart is the sole reason why some of these movies are making money, because I don't really see that is the funniest film of the year. Or I hope it really isn't, because if that's the funniest film of the year, it's not a good year for comedy.
There's no way that's the funniest film of the year when, like, Neighbors and... Well, there was another big comedy. 22 Jump Street came out and like made crazy amounts of money. Well,
Ride Along made crazy amounts of money as well.
Oh, okay.
It's in the top 10 still.
Well, hey, the point is, this has been a really strong year for comedies in terms of box office numbers. I haven't seen any of them because I don't pay money to go see comedies in theaters because it doesn't change the experience when you watch comedy on a big screen.
No, you need the bigger. It's funnier that way.
There's bigger laughs because of the bigger screen.
There you go.
Because then you see it with other people that laugh, and then it makes you laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I also saw a movie called Joe.
How's Joe? How's he doing?
Joe is a film starring the well-known thespian Nicolas Cage.
Awesome.
I thought you were going to say Tara Reid like last week.
No, but in the same class almost.
No.
I'm just kidding. But this was actually one of those films that technically, I guess, was released in 2013, but most people would list it as a 2014 film because I think it was released in one festival or something in 2013. But it's Nicolas Cage who is playing a ex-con, and he kind of finds himself in the role model type role. That seems redundant. A role model role for a 15-year-old that is just in a awful family. I don't know where exactly this is supposed to take place, but somewhere in Mississippi, in some type of... I mean, I had to have subtitles on the entire film because it's really hard to understand everybody that was talking in this film. But this kid is just in a family where the dad's just a drunk, abusive piece of poop.
I don't like pieces of poop like that.
And his mom's just like a non-entity that just kind of like fades into the wallpaper. So I mean, it's Nicolas Cage trying to steer this kid in the right direction somewhat, and also try to stay out of his own reckless habits that has landed him in jail like a bunch of different times. Kind of like a coming-of-age film on one hand. I mean, if people don't like to see like real films, as far as like real life in their films, then stay away from this one. I don't know. Nicolas Cage was good in it. It was a decent film. I don't necessarily think the ending was done super well. I think the last 15 to 20 minutes somewhat ruined the film a little bit for me. But it is interesting. I'll give it that. I was glad I could see it because I know a lot of people are rating it real high for the year, and this way I can make sure that I am not ignorant or out of the loop as far as this film goes, but I will not be ranking it in my top 10 once the year is done. And the other film, which actually I was pleasantly surprised at because I was completely expecting it to be awful, was a film called Blood Ties. When I first saw the trailer for it, I was actually somewhat interested in it, but there was really nothing good said about this. It's another one that was somewhat released in 2013, but I consider it a 2014 film. But it's two brothers. One's a cop, and one is basically someone who's usually in some type of organized crime or in jail or whatever. Stars Clive Owen and Billy Crudup. It also has James Cain in it, Zoe Saldana, Mila Kunis. So it's got some star power, but I kind of enjoyed this one. It was an interesting take. It reminds me a little bit of, not really American Hustle. That's going to be the wrong thing to say because it's not as stylized and it's not really a con man type situation, but just as the fact that even if the film's not super great to some people, I think they can respect some of the performances. But it was interesting to see, it's kind of an interesting family piece with James Caan playing the dad, and then Clive Owen and Billy Crudup playing the two brothers, and it was very dysfunctional. The one cop is hooking up with the girlfriend of a guy that he put in jail, and there's drama there, and the dad's dying or dealing with some health issues, and there's lots of arguments and stuff like that. So I mean, it's definitely an interesting family type of or relationship experience, and it has some kind of decent action, and I don't know, I actually liked it more than I thought I was going to. So that one I would recommend people to watch, but I mean, it's not going to be a great, super spectacular film, but it was enjoyable to me. So that's the films I saw outside of Transformers: Age of Extinction, which I will just spend a few minutes on.
Now, Kevin.
Most people... What?
Before you get into this,
mm-hmm.
think about the movie as a movie, just as a movie and not as a Michael Bay movie. Or don't think of it as ruining your childhood. Okay?
Which it is doing.
Just think of it as a movie.
This film cannot ruin your childhood.
You don't think?
There's been 3 films before it.
Okay. Don't even do that. Think of it as a completely standalone film. How to do.
Not so good.
Okay.
It's just not that good. I mean, okay, take Shia LaBeouf out of the franchise.
They did.
Insert Marky Mark.
Cool.
All right, that should be a positive because Mark Wahlberg is much easier to stomach than Shia LaBeouf and his crazy antics lately. But Marky Mark is playing the dad of this like 19-year-old hottie that's, I guess, in the place of Megan Fox or whoever else you want to throw in there. She's like the eye candy of the film, and he's supposed to be like, you know, the tough love dad as this girl is just graduating high school and getting ready to go out into the real world. Okay, that's kind of hard to stomach in the first place, just him in that role. But then on top of that, he is supposed to be like this major inventor / scientist guy, which it's just hard to put all that together and say that works. So that's just one of the issues, is that his character is kind of a weird sell, except for the fact that he's Mark Wahlberg and he has fans, so that'll help the movie do well. The other thing is they were kind of mean to people on how they marketed this film, because they marketed it with all kinds of pictures of Optimus Prime riding a Dinobot, or of Dinobots in general, and it was going to be this cool thing because we've seen 3 Transformers movies, but now we're getting Dinobots, so everybody be excited. The Dinobots are hardly in the film, so that's kind of misleading. Like, they really don't play much of a part in it. They're in it for less than 20 minutes, I think, and they really don't do that much.
That's ridiculous.
Like, they don't add anything to the film, hardly. So that was kind of weird. Then you have basically and this isn't necessarily spoiling stuff, because you get this right away in the film, so it's not going to ruin your movie-going experience, but you have the Autobots, the good faction or whatever, and like all the other films, there's, 5 or 6 of them, because that's about all you can have in these films. But they're not really battling Decepticons in this film. There's like a bounty hunter guy who I guess is a Transformer because he transforms, but he's more of just like a lone guy that's just going about the galaxy, I guess, bounty hunting, and he has a variety of both Transformers and non-Transformers like trophies and prizes and weird alien creatures and stuff like that, and he's hunting down the Autobots and trying to kill them all.
That's a cool concept.
Yeah, it actually sounds kind of neat.
Yeah. I didn't mind his character. I kind of liked him as a character, and I don't mind the whole bounty hunter angle because it really hasn't been done in Transformers much, if at all. But there really wasn't any Decepticons.
So you didn't get like Megatron?
You have a character named Galvatron.
Oh
no. Who really doesn't play that big of a part. And that's the problem.
He's not important, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only besides the bounty hunter whose name is Lockdown, Galvatron is the only villain that speaks.
Wow.
And everybody else is just basically a non-character, so to speak. And the Dinobots don't speak either, so you have that. So I don't know, it's just kind of weird because you have a Transformers film, but you don't have the Autobots and the Decepticons going against each other outside of kind of a rare Galvatron thing, which is, I do give them credit, they kind of paid homage to the original Transformers animated film where Megatron is reformatted into Galvatron. They kind of do a little of that, so I mean, that's cool. And like the voice acting was good, especially John Goodman as Hound. That character was very likable and a very cool addition. Another thing they did is they almost went too far in the one direction. I've always complained about the Transformers films being, especially the first one, where it's just like a lot of jagged metal edges and you can't really tell what's going on. You can't identify who's who because it's just like metal everywhere. And then bit by bit they added a lot, like through the second and third movie they added more and more like solid color plates and different things so that you could identify what was going on.
Yeah. Now
in this film they have weird, like almost human resembling heads. That sounds weird because it doesn't really resemble humans, but they don't resemble like any of the Transformers heads or faces that anybody's ever seen in any incarnation of Transformers. Where like the Hound character almost has like a beard and like smoking a cigar or something like that. Like it's weird. And then there's another guy who's just straight up a ripoff or like a samurai Transformer guy.
I don't know.
So, I mean, there was some weird look things. Like, they almost went too far to make them look not just like metal pieces, where now it's kind of a bit weird seeing them and being like, kind of like what the feelings you had when you were talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like just a weird look that kind of goes off.
I can see that.
So that was kind of weird. They did leave the film off in a interesting note that does hold some. I do have a little bit of maybe some excitement for if they went somewhere else with it.
Are you telling me that it ended on another cliffhanger?
Yeah, well, most of the other Transformers films actually don't.
Well, every movie nowadays does.
But the way that this has it's a cliffhanger in a way that is weird, is interesting because it would shift the entire feel of these types of movies.
Okay.
It leaves it in a place where it could almost be leading up to another movie that has nothing to do with humans whatsoever.
Awesome.
That's what all the Transformers fans have wanted since the first movie.
No one cares about the humans.
No, not at all. So, I mean, there were some good things about the film, but I just don't understand why it was so long.
Yeah, three hours is ridiculous for, like, you can't even call that a kid's movie. Like,
no, you can't. And there was, like, a guy there that had, like, a 6-year-old kid there, and he was just sleeping the entire film.
Yeah, I mean, you get, like, how was the plot? Like, was it easy to understand? Would a kid understand it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a kid would probably understand the majority of the plot. There's probably a few things that they'd be confused at. But, I mean, basically, like, it's basically like the whole government or human, like some type of agency that decides that, you know, Earth was better off without Transformers.
Right.
So, you know, it's them trying to get rid of all the Transformers, so to speak. And the Autobots being like, you know, we're not trying to, like, disrupt anything. We're the good guys here. You know, battles ensue as the good side, and the bounty hunter guys kind of are the humans, and the bounty hunter are kind of in the league with each other. So, I mean, the plot's not too hard to follow.
Okay.
From that standpoint. So, I mean, I can see, like, some kids liking it, and there's going to be some cool toys made out of it because there's a lot of potential for that. But if you really want to get someone that's even harder on it than me, read Dan's review on the site. He basically calls this film easily the worst film of the year.
Wow.
And he said that there was basically no redeeming qualities whatsoever in the entire film. So he really hated it. I didn't hate it quite that much, but it is at the bottom of my list for this year so far. Not the exact bottom, but in the bottom group.
Yeah. And it made $100 million.
Yeah. As have
How
all
much
of them.
did Frozen make?
$400 million.
In its lifetime.
400
domestically.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah, Transformers probably won't compete with that. But it will be one of the biggest money makers of the year, just because all of them have been in previous years that Transformer films have come out. It's something that people will go see. It's a spectacle. It's a summer popcorn blockbuster type film, and a lot of times that means it doesn't have to be worth anything as far as its plot and story and all that goes. So,
right. Well,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Frozen didn't even rank number 1 when it came out, Nate.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, like, Frozen's such a good movie.
Yeah.
That made a fourth of its. Like, in comparison, made a fourth of that movie's, you know, total in a weekend.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, we'll see. Sometimes with a film that gets that bad of reviews, sometimes it'll curb and it'll have some major drop-offs in the future weeks.
Didn't that happen with Amazing Spider-Man 2? Like,
that happens with a lot of films. I mean, the first weekend is all about how well the movie was marketed, how much excitement there was for it, and then that'll get people in there right away, you know, as far as excitement in that first weekend. Mm-hmm. And there'll be a little bit of that carries on, but that usually after that first weekend is when people start reading reviews, people start posting stuff, you know, Rotten Tomatoes type scores go up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that has a bigger impact than people think. And, you know, if a film gets completely panned across the board, you will see drop-offs in the box office.
I see.
You know, stuff like The Lone Ranger, Old Boy, and things like that. Like, if it's not getting reviewed well, sometimes that can have a major drop-off. But that first weekend is usually more so about the marketing and just the general excitement for whatever that whatever the title is. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll have a little bit of a drop-off, because it's definitely not as good of a film as Captain America, as X-Men, as Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think it might be right on par with Godzilla.
Really?
Yeah, I think those two are in somewhat of the same neighborhood.
All right. I'm on my Fandango app right now. It says the fans say go and the critics say no.
That's how the Transformers films are.
Yep.
All right. So looking back so far as what we have seen in 2014, we're towards the end of June here, starting July, and that makes it the halfway point of the year. So it's a good time to see what normally the first half of the year is the lesser of the two halves of the years when it comes to movie watching. Most people, if you look at their top 10 movies of the year, come the end of the year each year, a majority of those films come out in the second half of the year. It's just how the schedule goes. There might be one or two that sneak in there from the first half, but usually the second half is the dominating half of the year of movies. And hopefully that'll be true for me going forward, because I've seen 27 films so far this year.
Wow. In theaters?
Which puts... Well, that have come out in 2014. Not all of them in theaters.
Oh, so you're counting Hercules.
I'm counting anything that we saw on Redbox or this, that, and the other as far as 2014 films I've seen.
Okay.
Which is a decent amount. I got to say I'm not super impressed by the year so far, but I have had a lot of films that I've liked. But I want to get you guys first because I've been talking too much. What are the favorite films that you guys have seen this year? Like a handful of films that you... 2, 3, 4 films that you really like so far, Nate?
Well, Grand Budapest Hotel is right now my favorite of the year, and I don't know if anything is going to beat it, just because it was so good. I really liked How to Train Your Dragon 2. That's probably my number 2. And then Captain America. Chef. Chef was really good. But, I mean, it was good, but I don't know. It's hard to say, how it'll rank by the end of the year, but it was a lot of fun.
So is How to Train Your Dragon 2 your favorite animated/kids film of the year so far?
I liked it better than Lego Movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it just well, I don't want to get into it.
What about your favorite superhero / just action blockbuster?
It's between Cap and X-Men. And I like X-Men for being more of a comic booky movie, but Cap was a really well done movie. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'll have to think more about it, but
that's good. That's a good variety there. We got a little bit of everything. We got the superhero films. You got the Grand Budapest Hotel. You got the animated film. And then Chef. I like that. A little bit of everything. What about you, Matt?
I'm going to be unoriginal and say almost everything Nate said. Grand Budapest was my favorite, and it's kind of a comedy. You said you hadn't spent any money on comedy. That's kind of a comedy.
Yeah, well, no, it's definitely a comedy.
It's also adventure, though. I mean, it's like a bunch of genres because Wes Anderson's crazy.
It's every genre ever dissected as a Wes Anderson movie, and it's just his brain is insane. So.
So good. That's definitely my favorite movie of the year so far. I liked Cap 2 a lot. I think Chef might be my second favorite. I really liked Chef. I enjoyed that movie.
Did you see How to Train Your Dragon 2?
I have not seen How to Train Your Dragon 2. I'm going to go see that Friday, probably.
Oh, wow. Like a midday showing?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Amy and I are talking about going and seeing that this weekend. Because, there's nothing else coming out, and I'm not going to go see Transformers 4 before I've seen the first 3.
We should do that on Friday! It will be terrible!
No, I'm not going to spend 12 hours watching.
9 hours!
That's too many hours on Transformers. Unless it's the original show, in which case it's just enough. So, yeah, I like Cap. I like, I saw all the superhero movies. Those are all fun.
What's your favorite one out of Captain and X-Men and Spider-Man?
Are those the only 3, by the way? Am I missing one?
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, unless you count 300 or something as one, but that's not really
Yeah.
That's more of a comic book one, not a superhero one.
I'm going to go with Captain America. If we go... it's unfair, I guess, because I saw that one twice. And the second viewing, I appreciated it a lot more than the first viewing. And if based on just first viewings, I don't know if it would have done it. But, yeah, definitely Cap 2 for my favorite action movie. I haven't seen any animated films, unless you count Frozen, because I saw Frozen in February.
No.
Because that movie was in theaters forever.
That's true. You need to see Lego Movie.
I do.
So I can see what your take is on that one.
I like it more than TFG1 Mike.
Everybody will. He doesn't. I don't think he liked all of Frozen either, so I could be wrong.
Wow.
Well, at least he made fun of one of the songs on one of the posts this last week. I think that's what he was doing. I responded, and he did not. So I don't know if that's exactly what he meant.
He's like no fun allowed guy.
Yeah, he was saying something bad about Let It Go, I think. Anyway, I have a lot of the same films, a couple different ones that I put up there too. Currently, I kind of was going back and forth, but I honestly have Lego Movie as my number one film so far.
Wow!
Nice.
Maybe my thoughts will change as I think about them all more and maybe get a second viewing of some of these eventually. But currently, Lego Movie is my number one. I'd have Grand Budapest Hotel as my number two, so I'm with you guys on that one. I actually really like The Fault in Our Stars. I'm a sucker for the guy that did the screenplay for that because he also did 500 Days of Summer and The Spectacular Now, which I both like those films. I like Shailene Woodley. So I like The Fault in Our Stars. Then I probably round up my top five with a couple of the superhero films. And I'm going to readily admit that I need to rewatch all the superhero films eventually because I'm pretty sure I'm not in agreement with most people on those. I put X-Men as my number 4 right now, a number 4 film, and I actually have The Amazing Spider-Man 2 as my number 5. I appreciated that a lot more than a lot of people, I guess. I also liked Blood Ties. Like I said, Muppets Most Wanted was decent. Captain America was good.
Oh, man.
Forgot about
Muppets.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
It was fun.
I liked Divergent, maybe even more so than The Hunger Games, which I know most people don't. And then probably rounding up my top 10 would be one of the following 3 films. It'd either be Maleficent, Noah, or Edge of Tomorrow. They all had some good things about them. They all had some bad things about them. So they would make like a first half of the year movie. Those are all films that would not even be mentioned probably in a final year look back. But I liked them all. So those were good things. If you're looking at the worst things I've seen this year so far, Transformers: Age of Extinction and Godzilla, like I said. 47 Ronin technically came out like December 25th. But I thought that was pretty bad. Walk of Shame, not funny enough, and The Legend of Hercules is my least favorite film of the year so far.
That one was bad.
Yeah.
So stay away from those. Any other thoughts on what you've seen so far this year, or if you think it's been good, bad, anywhere in between?
It's ridiculous that we've seen so many movies that we've forgotten some.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
How many movies did you watch in theaters last year, Matt?
2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun.
I usually see the superhero movies, although not always X-Men or Spider-Man, but definitely the rest of the Marvel superhero movies. I see those in theaters, and then I usually see one on Valentine's Day, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I just counted because you guys had asked before. I have seen 27 films that I consider being released in 2014. 20 of them were in the theater.
Wow.
So, 7 Redbox and 20 actually in the theater. Well, I'm trying to beat my number from last year, and I'm a little actually behind pace. So.
Wow.
I don't know. We'll see. As far as looking forward, I'll start off since I went last on the other ones, but things I'm looking forward to seeing in the rest of the year. I just got 10 for you that I'm probably most looking forward to. Starting off with July here, Earth to Echo. I think that has some potential. And
shut up! No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm going to say what Nate said, but a lot less. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
It could be bad, but it's just something I'm looking forward to see how they do it. It has some cool elements to it. Planet of the Apes was my number when Dan and I did our list of films we were most looking forward to in 2014. Planet of the Apes was my number one. So that's coming up, and I'm excited about that. So that'll be something I'm much looking forward to seeing. Guardians of the Galaxy, just because of everything that I've seen so far on it this year, wouldn't have been as excited at the beginning of the year, but everything I've seen just makes it seem even better. Intrigued to see what happens with The Giver. Box Trolls, that was on my list at the beginning of the year, still is. Maze Runner looks like it could be something that's awful, but I'm somewhat intrigued by that. Gone Girl. Interstellar. That was Dan's, at the top of Dan's list, I think, somewhere. Interstellar. Exodus with Christian Bale, and Into the Woods, the musical extravaganza / fairy tale thing, because I want to see what they do with that. So those are some of the films I'm most looking forward to for the latter half. Nate, anything you're looking forward to?
Definitely Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
I am looking forward to the Hercules movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm looking forward to Magic in the Moonlight, the Woody Allen movie starring Emma Stone, just because it's a Woody Allen movie starring Emma Stone. That's it.
Enough said.
And then if we go I'm doing this in like chronological order. Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm excited for. Get On Up, looks cool. Calvary, the trailer looked good, and I want to see more about it before I get excited, but I don't know. I do want to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, but I don't know. It's not looking good. I just want to see it just because I'm dumb.
I'll see it.
Frank looks weird and kind of cool. Sin City looks interesting. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I like the first one, so there's that. And then, as you can tell, I'm like just scrolling down a list.
That's how you got to do things sometimes.
The Box Trolls, definitely interested in that one. I love that that one is like claymation, or it's like stop motion, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's insane. Like that kind of art form is just ridiculous.
And then like the trailer they showed, that was like a teaser that just showed how they did everything.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That was the best trailer of the year, probably.
Yeah.
Intense.
The Interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco, just because I like those two guys and they have great chemistry together. The Dracula Untold movie, I'm hoping to see that'll look good. I don't know. Hoping to see more. Birdman looks really weird, and I want to see it because it's got a weird trailer.
I think that might be a wool over your eyes situation, though.
Well, you think so?
Like I'm thinking like, you know, like Giant Bird on Manhattan and all that other stuff. I think that might be Birdman doing the Birdman movie, and then like, because it's about a movie star that's washed up, and then he's like, I'm gonna bring the movie to Broadway, and I'm worried all of the cool actiony scenes were from that movie, and that it's just gonna be like a boring, shitty drama movie.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll see. We'll see about that.
Maybe we won't see.
Maybe we won't. Doesn't matter. Big Hero 6, I actually, even though it's like it's a movie about animation. I mean, it's an animated movie. I'm not really that interested in it, but it's an animated movie, and I'm interested in animated movies, so I'm kind of interested in it. It's a weird way to say that. Dumb and Dumber 2. Shut up. I like the old one. We'll see how the new one works. It'll be weird. And that's about it. I'm not really interested in The Hobbit. I still haven't seen the second one. But yeah.
Then you can't see the third one then.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I know that my fiance will be incredibly excited to know that Night at the Museum 3 is coming out this year, which is a terrible movie, but whatever. It's got, what's his name?
Robin Williams?
Robin Williams. Hopefully. Rumored. I don't know.
All right. What about you, Matt?
I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to do my top 10 that I want to see, starting with the one I want to see the least of the 10 going down, because I think that's a good way to do things.
Top 10 list.
Number 10, I would say Interstellar. I'm not super impressed with it, but it's interesting, and I want to see it because of that. Maybe when we get closer, we'll have a different opinion. Number 9 would be Big Hero 6. I've read, I think, the first issue of the original Japanese comic when it was brought to America. I think that's what it was. And it was fun or whatever, and I'm interested to see where they take it, because I think they're going a little more funny than I remember it, but I could be remembering wrong. Next would be Sin City 2, or Sin City 0.5, which I am still very worried about. Like, if I hadn't seen the trailer that we had a week ago, I think that would have been probably in the top 5, but that trailer has me a little worried. After that would be Dracula Untold. I'm very interested in that movie, and it's probably going to be the best fantasy movie, or one of the better fantasy movies of the year. After that would be Frank, which I think has been the one that's captured my attention for the longest of any movie of the year, because I've been interested in that since the first time I saw a trailer, and I'm still just as interested today. Then for my top 5, number 5 would be Get On Up, the James Brown biopic, which looks amazing. Mm-hmm. After that, it's Hercules with Dwayne Johnson, which, just looks great, but I'm worried after seeing the other Hercules movie. And then top 3, Box Trolls, which we've all talked about. Wow. Looks great. Guardians of the Galaxy, which actually in January I was very worried about, and then after every trailer I see makes me a little more interested. And then the number 1 film I'm most interested in 2014 is The Art of the Steal, the heist movie starring Kurt Russell with some other dudes.
When
like
does that
one
come
like November? Oh, according to this, June in the UK.
Oh, we're going to get it super late.
I don't know. I thought I saw it in November. I could be wrong. Maybe it's already out, and then we just don't get it in where we live because we don't get anything.
Right.
God.
All right. Well, I think we gave a variety of films there for people to think about, and I'm sure there's different levels of excitement for some of those films. But there is a lot of stuff coming out, and that's not even going to count all the films that come out in, November and December that all of a sudden are all the Oscar films that people will start talking about that we probably half of them haven't even heard of yet. So there's that. As far as films coming out immediately here, first off, as far as your Blu-ray releases for next week, yep, nothing for you to go buy.
Nothing.
There's literally nothing for anybody to go purchase. Unless, I guess, you're a big documentary fan. I guess some people have been talking about The Unknown Known, which I think is a Donald Rumsfeld documentary. Not a lot to go see there. But in theaters, July 1st here, you have Tammy. July 2nd, Deliver Us from Evil and Earth to Echo. So those are the big ones for this next coming week. Heading into the July 4th weekend. So not a ton, unless you're a huge fan of Melissa McCarthy, then you go see Tammy. If you're a horror/thriller fan, you can go see Deliver Us from Evil. If I had to pick a film, I would be going to see Earth to Echo out of that group, but we'll see. I know Nate won't go see Tammy because that's a comedy.
Well, no, I won't go see it because of different reasons, but...
What are those reasons, Nate?
It's stupid. It looks like dumb. Like, I like comedy. I like laughing a lot, but...
Not a Melissa McCarthy fan?
Not... I don't know. I haven't seen a movie with her in it yet, so probably not.
And we did ask people as far as last week what stuff they had liked so far in this last year, so that way when we were talking about it, we could get their input as well. And a lot of people agreeing with us in certain respects. Grand Budapest Hotel, I know, got some mentions. Lego Movie, Captain America, so those were all ones that we brought up in our conversation. The Raid 2 somebody brought up, and the Rover. What was that?
I just had a memory of the Raid 2. We never got to see it.
It turns out it was actually in our town for 1 week. I was talking to the guy at the used disc store when I was buying the Royal Tannenbaums, and we got on talking about Wes Anderson, and he was like, I didn't get to see Grand Budapest. And I was like, yeah, I was only in theaters for like 2 weeks here. And I was like, I wish the Raid had come. He's like, it did. If it was here for 1 week, I saw it. And I was like, oh man, I'm jealous.
And people also looking forward to some of the same stuff that we're looking forward to. So, Fury, Dumb and Dumber 2, someone had mentioned Foxcatcher with Steve Carell, a Hunger Game and a Hobbit mentioned, even though we weren't as thrilled on those. Gone Girl again, Interstellar, a lot of people talking about Interstellar. There's a lot of buzz about that one, obviously.
Turns out Art of the Steal is already on DVD, and I'm buying it right now. We will be watching it in a week.
Awesome.
All right. Anything else about stuff coming up, or conversations that you guys saw, or comments that you wanted to mention from the website?
You and Dan got into it, but I think you guys got it all sorted out, and everything's copacetic now.
We like to debate just because that's the fun thing about talking about movies is debating, and we did have a lively conversation about Maleficent, and the whole conversation that we had about the rape analogy, etc. But yeah, Dan and I just like to do that, and it's part of the fun of talking about movies. There's never any ill will or hard feelings, even if at times it might look like it. But go ahead.
I don't know. I guess I kind of got a little angry, and I might not have made my points as clear for that, and that might be part of my fault then.
No, I think too. He said some good stuff about you too. So, as far as what you were getting at, I have to agree to disagree on some things with him. I get what he's saying, and that the point of a movie is to interpret and to take away with what you want to. But I just don't like necessarily trying to make it seem like that was somebody's intention if there's no evidence to support that. If that's your interpretation, that's one thing, and that's cool. That's what you should do. But sometimes I think people make the mistake of trying to say that's actually what the author was intending, and that's when I have a problem with it.
That's good.
So, but yeah, if you guys want to be a part of those conversations, make sure you always check out the episode posts and chime in or reply or respond or start your own, debate topic or discussion point, and we always check it out and try to reply or be a part of that conversation, so you can definitely do that. Did we have a question for this week?
Oops.
Putting you guys on the spot. Let's see, what were we looking at here? I got one here. We talked about in the headlines that there is a Star Wars museum coming to Chicago. If that was, let's say that was the start of something like that. Let's say there was a trend.
Yeah. I like where this is going.
And all of a sudden we're going to have stuff like this, like museums or places where it's not just like the Museum of Natural History, it's not just the Art and Science Museum, it's not just all that type of stuff, where it becomes more of like a pop culture or video games or movies or TV shows or cartoons or whatever. If you could have a museum in your nearest by big city, what kind of museum would you want it to be? Or what kind of place would you want it to be? What franchise, what movie, what character, what director, what actor, video game, cartoon, what would be the coolest theme for a museum or something like that.
I like the idea of really cool museums.
Yeah, just something that you would be excited about, like just to go, like whatever, like a Nintendo museum or like a Mario Brothers museum or an Indiana Jones museum or something like that. Like, what would you be super ecstatic for if it was all of a sudden announced that it was coming to a city near you?
Yeah. I think there is actually a video game museum in New York, I want to say.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but
I don't know.
Still. But still, like in a different way, maybe in more of a grand like spectacle. Where I think this is going as far as the Lucas Museum. This isn't just going to be like some run of the mill museum. This is like there's museums everywhere. Like anything that there's like a gun museum. There's like a rodeo museum. There's probably a chewing gum museum of some sort. But we're talking about something that millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars is getting poured into. That's going to be like this just awe-inspiring spectacle. And we'll come up with what we want for next week, and we'll respond to what we would pick. But it's hard to beat the idea of a Star Wars museum coming to the biggest city that we're by. That's super exciting news. So let us know what you would be excited about. And also, like I said, check out the webpage and comment on this week's episode. Let us know what we said right, what we said wrong. Anything that you want to say about the year so far in films that you didn't say with us last week. You can email us also, feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the Facebook page by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can call the voicemail line. If you do, we'll actually play your clip on the show, 502-526-5821. Follow us at Twitter. The station there is at Geekcast Radio. You can hashtag MWIRE. You can also contact me specifically at Optimus Solo and Matt at
Fridley Sense.
Nate
at Adolfo Shabadoo.
And we will respond that way as well. But the way I check mostly is the episode post on geekcastradio.com. If you click on MwireWeekly and comment there, I will see it, because I check that at least once a day. So that is it for us. Remember, for all things movies, keep tuned to MwireWeekly.